So has there ever been a time where you've made some plans or you've made some commitments for the future and had a hard time following those plans? Has that ever happened? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, okay? You made the plans, you set it up. In the future, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. This is the plans I've got set up, and yet you run into a problem doing it. Okay, so here's what I'd like you to do. I'm going to illustrate how this whole thing works in our psychobabble. Imagine I told you I would give you a free snack 1 week from today, but you had to choose the snack today for 1 week from now. So here's the one snack. Which of you would like a big, juicy, sweet apple or a large, yummy chocolate bar? That's our two choices. And it's a week from now. So how many of you, by show of hands, would want the big, juicy, sweet apple? Okay? So there's like about 15, 18 of you. Okay, so that's for a week from now. Now, a week from now, how many want the chocolate bar? Chocolate bar kind of wins here. Okay. Now, so it looks like we had about 60% of you want the chocolate bar for a week from now, and 40% or so want the apple. So here's a question. Let me ask you, if I gave you change the rules and said I'm going to give you the snack now, as soon as the sales meeting is over in 10 minutes, I'm going to give you the snack now, how many of you want the apple? So, a few less. How many of you want the chocolate bar? Come on, be honest, you guys. Can you have both? It's not in the plan here. Okay. So there was a study, an actual college study, funded by one of the great universities, that talked about this scenario right here. And it kind of illustrates a little bit of what's happening here. If you know that if you're doing the right thing by choosing the apple, even though it's in the future, we tend to do the right thing. The right thing is to choose the apple, right? Say yes. Yeah. From a healthy perspective. Right? Right? We also know that what happens to us is, if we could choose it out further, we tend to do that. When the choice becomes sooner, or it becomes almost right in front of us, the tendency is to choose the path of least resistance, the thing that gives you more instant gratification now, which is what? The chocolate bar. You guys with me on this?
Yes.
So they found that 8 out of 10 people, given the choice, decided to go with the unhealthy snack. They couldn't resist the temptation of eating the chocolate bar. So this goes to food, it goes to exercise, it goes to cold calling, it goes to script learning, it goes to 5-5-10, it goes to previewing property. We know what the right thing is, right? Yes. The right thing is to do those activities, yet when those activities are right in front of us, what do we tend to do?
Other things.
Anything else, right? So, write this down. Write the word marshmallow. This is where this test came from. Marshmallow. Who's ever heard of the Marshmallow Test? No one. Good job.
Was it the kids?
Yeah. 45 years ago at Stanford University up in Palo Alto, there was a researcher who did a test with a couple hundred 5-year-olds. Okay, ring a bell?
Yes.
Here's the test. This is 45 years ago. The test was, each child was brought into a room, nice little classroom, with chairs that were, and tables that were their size. Everything was quite comfortable. And the child was put at the desk, and in front of them was a plate and one marshmallow. And they were told that if they will, then the adult was going to leave the room for 15 minutes, and when the adult came back, if the marshmallow was still there, the child would get 2 marshmallows. If the marshmallow was gone, then it was gone. They weren't going to be penalized, they weren't going to be hurt, etc., but there was a reward of 2 marshmallows. All right? And they went through this with 200 kids. Fascinating. Guess what happened?
Most of them did.
2 out of 3 kids, within moments of the door closing, click, ate the marshmallow. Some of them took a few minutes. Some of them took 14 or 14 minutes. But 2 out of 3 kids out of this couple hundred children ate the marshmallow. 1 didn't. 1 waited and got their 2. So what's the significance? What did they find? What did they learn? Is they've been studying these children for the last 45 years. And in the last 45 years, every 5 to 10 years, depending on when they do it, they went and did a survey with these children. These children are now 50 years old. Interesting, huh? So what they found is that of these preschoolers who waited the longest for the marshmallows, they went on to have higher SAT scores than any of the other children. That 1 out of 3. They found that they earned more advanced degrees than all of the other children tested. They found those children used less drugs and less cocaine. There was some, but less drugs, less cocaine. And they found they coped better with stress in general. Now the children are in their 50s, and they're doing the test right now, and the book will come out. That's where this whole thing came up. A book is coming out now, talking about looking at where the children are in their 50s. And what they're finding, all the stats aren't in yet, but what they're finding is the 1 out of 3 are what? Richer, have more family units that aren't divorced, have a more interesting and well-rounded life, are far more successful than some of the other kids. And this was because of 2 words: self-discipline. But the self-discipline was innate in these children. They're 5 years old. So the question then they've been studying over time, is self-discipline innate, or can self-discipline be taught? And what they're finding is they believe in some people it is innate. Now think about all the people, and I just had this conversation with Mike Ferry earlier today, because I was telling him what we were talking about and what I found out in this test. Who's probably one of the most self-disciplined people that you know through me and have seen through him? Him. Amazingly self-disciplined. In not every category, true. We laughed about a few of his categories that he's not that self-disciplined in. For instance, chocolate. Chocolate. He smells chocolate, and he'll tell you to get off the road. But think in life of the successful people you know. Are they self-disciplined? Do they have a basic discipline in terms of their health, their demeanor, what they eat, what they don't eat, who they hang around with, who they don't hang around with, what time they go to sleep, what time they don't go to sleep, exercise, calling past client and sphere, learning scripts and dialogues, previewing property, self-discipline, watching and managing money, spending money they don't have, or not spending money they don't have. Does that make sense? Self-discipline. So, you don't think I would bring you something like this without giving you also some of the answers on how to be a little bit more self-disciplined, do you? You think I would? No. So I have 5 points here on developing self-discipline. You guys might want to write these down. Okay? Because you can start anytime. It's not easy, but it's not that hard. So I wrote down the first thing. Self-discipline alone doesn't guarantee success. Self-discipline by itself doesn't guarantee success. People also need a burning goal and desire that gives them a reason to activate the skills. So you've got to have more than just the self-discipline. You have to have a burning desire or a goal. So I wrote down the first thing you have to do is set SMART goals. Write down set SMART goals. I get this question all the time. Neil, how do I get more self-discipline? How do I do more of what I'm supposed to do when I'm supposed to do it? My favorite phrase. You want to be successful in this business, do what others won't do for 5 years so you can have what others can't have for the rest of your life. Isn't that self-discipline? Yes. How about do what you don't want, do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it, even though you don't feel like doing it. Okay? That's all we're talking about here. So I wrote down the goals. When you create your goals, you make sure they're SMART. So the S in SMART is be specific, or the word specific. The M in SMART is measurable. So we need specific goals. They need to be measurable goals. The A in SMART is attainable. They need to be attainable. We need to be able to achieve them. I wrote down they need to be, the R is relevant. They need to be relevant in our world, and they need to mean something to us, and they need, the T in SMART is timely. They need to be timely. They need to be specific. Your goals need to be measurable. They need to be attainable. They need to be relevant, and they need to be timely. For instance, don't just set a goal of I want to lose weight or I want to make more money. Okay? It's not specific enough. It's not focused enough. You need to say, I want to lose 10 pounds by March 1st. So, specific, timely, measurable. You guys with me on this? Okay? I want to put $50 away every week. On Friday, I will go to the bank and put $50 into the bank by 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon. Measurable, attainable, specific. You guys with me on this? Yes. Do you guys get what I'm saying? See, what happens is when we set a goal, I hear this all the time. Well, what do you want? I want to make money. How much? A lot. Okay, Can you be more specific? No, a lot. And then here's what I get a lot of. Okay, I want to make 50,000 or more. Well, what about 45? 45 would be good. Well, would you take 40? Well, if I had to. Well, what about 35? Is that all I could get? You're sabotaging yourself. You guys with me? They have to be specific, and you have to want it. And you have to go through the wall to get it. So the first thought is to set SMART goals. The second one needs to be harness the power of accountability. Harness the power of accountability. I wrote down here, when we're left to our own devices, it's easy to come up with excuses not to do something. I'm tired, I don't feel like it, it's too much work, it's too hard, blah, 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 blah. I can go around the room and I can get a completely different excuse right now on why we didn't do what we were supposed to do, whatever that is today. And I will get, there's 80 of you here, I will get at least 79 good excuses. Right? Say yes.
Yes.
But what if you write this down. What if there were no options? What if there were no options to hitting that goal? What if I had to be absolutely accountable? So here was a thought. There's the 99% rule, which is I will do most of it most of the time, okay, 99%. Or there's the 100% rule. See, right now, most of us work under the 99% rule. If I get most of it done most of the time, it's okay, right? Come on. Come on. Right? But what if it were 100%? What if there was no fail? You had to do 30 contacts a day, no fail. I don't care if it's raining. I don't care if it's 109 degrees outside. I don't care if your foot hurts. I don't care if your kids call. I don't care, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. 100% no fail. So now, nothing gets in the way of that activity and that goal. Does this make sense? Yes. We work at the 99%. Most of it, most of the time. But what if we made it no option? 100%. Got to do it. See, where we get in trouble is that we allow ourselves to have the option. And we set these goals that we can't attain and keep over time. Example. If you had 30 contacts a day, is 30 contacts a day attainable over time? Yes. Hello? Yes. Okay, 35, 40 starts to push it, 50 really starts to push it, 60, 70 really starts to push it. But 30 doesn't sound very hard, impressive, exciting, right? Come on. It's not. But what happens is we set this goal for 50, and we hit 50 today, we hit 50 tomorrow, we hit 50 on Wednesday, and on Thursday, we're exhausted from Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and we don't get up out of bed very early. Our feet hurt. We're tired. It's 109 degrees outside. I have blisters. I'm not doing this on Thursday. And because I didn't do it on Thursday, I have cramps in my leg on Friday. So now I'm not going to do so much on Friday. On Saturday, I'm going to do a little bit. Maybe I do 10. I'll rest up on Sunday. And Monday, I'll do 50 again. And you get out there ready to do 50. You're getting into your car so you can drive over to do your door knocking. And you've got a flat tire and the battery's dead. And you're also running a half an hour late to begin with. So then you don't get done what you started to get done. So watch the numbers. 50, 50, 50 is 150, right? So I did 150 contacts. Now I didn't do any for 3 or 4 days. But what if I did 30 for 6 days? 30 is easy. I do it for 6 days. What do I do by the end of the week? 180. Not dramatically different, but I can do that every single day for the next 2 or 240 work days and end up with a lot more contacts. And let me ask you a question. If the difference, if it took for every 30 contacts, you end up with a listing appointment, you would get one more listing appointment every single week by doing the 30 contacts a day for 6 days rather than the 50 contacts a day occasionally. You guys with me on this?
Yes.
You're messing yourselves up. And it's in the accountability of doing the difference between the 99% and the 100%. So what I'm going to suggest to you is to learn self-discipline. Don't give yourself an option. Choose something you will do, not such a stretch goal, but you will do, and do it. How's that? Just simply, what? Do it. Oh, there's a company built an entire marketing campaign on those 3 words. Nike, just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Interesting, huh? Okay, so harness the power of accountability. Number 3, remove temptation and distractions. Remove temptations and distractions. All humans are subject to temptation. It's just our nature. When you how many of you can really drive by a Baskin Robbins without thinking about stopping? Hello, come on, truth. Now, I don't think, so you got 3 of you can think about not stopping? Interesting. 4? Okay, well, I'll ask enough questions, I'll find the thing you can't drive by. But there's not a Baskin Robbins I drive by that I don't think about stopping. Now, do I stop? No. 99% I don't. 1%, that's where this came from. My wife and I are great salespeople. We can talk ourselves into anything. What we have to do, I wrote down here, is figure out a system to bulletproof ourselves against the distractions. So I wrote down, first, let's identify what your common distractions are. Common distractions are your cell phone. Common distractions are your emails. Common distractions are your texts. Common distractions are anything. Anything, okay? You know, as a young kid at 7 or 8 years old, I played Little League. I don't know if you guys had that or have that stuff and play that. Or maybe it's soccer today. But I would have my mitt on. My parents would tell me, that's actually filming me in black and white. I have film of this, of my just watching butterflies in the field. The game's on. They're pitching the ball over there somewhere. And I'm really interested in this butterfly. I'm outfield, right? This is a game. Good things are happening. I should be engaged. I should be part of. I definitely wasn't part of that Stanford study that I would have ate that marshmallow in a heartbeat. Do you guys get what I'm talking about here? Anything will distract us. Anything will distract us. So what we have to do is we have to find the things that are the most distracting and get rid of them. Leave your cell phone at the front desk. Leave it at the front desk. If you're worried about your kids, and God forbid there should be a problem at school, et cetera, and you want to be available, I get that, then leave the cell phone at the front desk, leave it on, away from you. If it rings, she'll answer it. if it's, God forbid, an emergency, she'll get you your cell phone. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Rather than leaving the cell phone by your desk when somebody called. I just had this the other day. I went into a meeting, it was a very important meeting, and I didn't turn off the cell. I put it on vibrate. It was wrong, because just as I was going into the meeting for 2 hours, and I couldn't break. So 2 hours I had to be focused. I see the cell pop up, and it's Marilyn Barnett. Oh, shit. Now, this could either be, hey, just want to touch base, good things are happening, da-da-da-da-da, or the sky is falling, and we really need you, right?
Yeah.
So, now, fortunately, I was able to condition myself. I did not call her back. I didn't look. I didn't check the voicemail. I didn't do it. I really had the discipline not to do this. But it drove me nuts for 15 minutes, right? Because I looked, and if I wouldn't have looked, if the phone's in the car, and she would have called, I wouldn't have known. Do you guys get that?
Yes.
And you know, out of sight, out of mind. It really works. But because I knew she had called and her name popped up, I'm thinking for 15 minutes, it's either a catastrophe or it's a good thing. I'd like to hear if it's a good thing. If it's a catastrophe, I don't want to know anyway. Do you guys get that? We do. We sabotage ourselves. We have to stop doing it. We have to remove temptation and distraction. It's those little things. It's an email that comes in. Stop doing that stuff to yourselves. You know, I wrote down here, print out a list of calls that you have to make for today and turn off the computer. If you're working from the computer, and I get that some of us do, then print out what you're going to do on a piece of paper and make those calls and turn the computer off, because your emails are popping up or your voicemails are popping up, or what do I have now? I have, not voicemail, Google Voice. It pops up. And then, of course, Facebook. Now, even if I'm not looking at Facebook, if somebody contacts you on Facebook, it comes up as an alert that somebody just, yes, what do? They liked you. Well, I was wondering, I wonder who that was. Wow. And I wonder what they liked that I did. You can relate, right?
Yes.
And now we're totally off track, and I have no idea what I was thinking of. And then I look, and then worse, if they're annoyed with me for doing something or not doing something, then of course I ramp up, and I get anxious, and then of course I start thinking of all the things that I'm going to say or do when I call back. And then I can't wait, because I have no self-control when I'm on this kind of stuff. And then I get in the middle of it, and then I get totally off. Does that happen to anyone else besides me? Stop doing that to ourselves. Number 4. Eat the big ugly frog first. Big ugly frog first. We all have every day a list of things we're supposed to do. And what happens is we tend to we bite around the big ugly one. We work around the big ugly one because we don't want to tackle that. What I've found, this is something I try to do every morning, is attack the biggest, ugliest thing first when I can. Because there's nothing that will, 2 things. A, it's never as big and ugly as I make it in my head, right? Say yes. Yeah. It's never that bad, never. A, so then I feel kind of empowered because it's always a little less. B, because I tackled it, I feel good about myself. So and if